I never planned to stay late that Thursday. The office was supposed to be empty by 7. Everyone had scattered to their weekend plans. Everyone except me, hunched over my laptop in the conference room, and apparently her. King Catherine Wells, VP of Operations. 46 years old, according to the company directory, though she could have told me she was 38 and I would have believed her. Dark hair that fell just past her shoulders, always professionally styled. Sharp blazers that somehow made her look both untouchable and not. I'd been at Morrison & Associates for 11 months. In that time, I'd exchanged maybe 30 words with her. Good morning, the projections look solid. Have a good weekend. The kind of polite corporate distance that keeps everyone safe. Ponda. But tonight, when I walked past her office at Joel's Sisters TPM, she was standing at her window, forehead pressed against the glass, shoulders trembling. I should have kept walking in Ms. Wells. My voice came out quieter than I intended. Are you okay? On. She spun around, quickly wiping her eyes, even with mascara-streaked cheeks. She was stunning. Dylan, I didn't know anyone was still here, just finishing the quarterly analysis. I gestured vaguely toward the conference room. But that can wait. Do you need anything? She laughed, a broken sound that made my chest ache. What I need is to not be crying in front of an employee. I'm Dylan, I said, stepping into her office. Not when employee, not right now. Something shifted in her expression. Surprise, maybe, or recognition of something she'd been trying to ignore. It's my anniversary, she said quietly. 23 years ago today, I married someone who promised forever. The divorce was finalized this morning. Means I closed the door behind me. Not thinking about propriety or HR policies. Just responding to the raw pain in her voice. I'm sorry, don't be. She turned back to the window. I've been separated for 2 years. I knew it was coming. But somehow, signing those papers felt like admitting I wasted half my life on someone who stopped seeing me years ago. The city lights reflected in the glass, turning her silhouette into something almost ethereal. I wanted to say something profound, something that would ease the hurt radiating off her in waves. Instead, I said, have you eaten? She blinked. What? Dinner? Have you had any? When she shook her head, I made a decision that would change everything. There's a Thai place 3 blocks away. Still open. You shouldn't be alone tonight, Dylan. I'm your superior. This isn't, you're a person who's hurting, I interrupted. And I'm someone who knows what it's like to feel invisible. Just dinner. No corporate hierarchy. No judgment. Just company. She studied me for a long moment, and I felt stripped bare under that gaze. Like she was seeing past the junior analyst, past the 28-year-old kid trying to make his mark, into something deeper. Why? She asked. Banned. Because in 11 months, I've watched you command boardrooms and negotiate impossible deals, and somehow still remember everyone's birthday. You make other people feel seen. I took a breath. Someone should do the same for you. Banned. Her eyes welled again, but this time she smiled. 1 hour, then we come back, get our things, and pretend this never happened. Deal? For the restaurant was nearly empty. Just us and an elderly couple in the corner sharing pad thai, like they'd been doing it for 50 years. Bendy Catherine ordered green curry without looking at the menu. I got drunken noodles and immediately regretted the on-the-nose metaphor. And so, she said, wrapping her hands around a cup of jasmine tea, tell me something real. Not the polished version you bring to meetings. Something true. I hadn't expected that. Like what? Banda, like why someone as talented as you is still working 60-hour weeks as a junior analyst. Your financial models are better than most of our senior staff, yet you never push for recognition. Man, the observation caught me off guard. I'd assumed she barely noticed me. Fear, mostly, I admitted. My dad was a contractor, worked his whole life building other people's dreams. Died at 57 with nothing but a paid-off truck and regrets. I traced the rim of my water glass. I'm terrified of being invisible, of not mattering. So I work harder than everyone else, hoping someone will finally see me as I don't know. Worthy of something more, Catherine set down her tea, eyes locked on mine. I see you, 3 words. They shouldn't have meant so much. Your turn, I said, voice rough. Something true. She was quiet for a moment, and I watched emotions flicker across her face. Vulnerability, hesitation, then resolve. And I'm scared I've forgotten how to be wanted, she whispered. Not needed, not respected, wanted. My ex-husband. Toward the end, he looked through me, like I was furniture, functional but unremarkable. Duh! She laughed bitterly. I'm 46 years old, and I feel like I've already missed my chance at being someone's first choice. The rawness in her voice made something crack open in my chest. That's insane, I said. She looked up. Startled. Catherine, you walk into a room and the air changes. People lean in when you speak. I struggled for the right words. You're magnetic. Anyone who couldn't see that is an idiot. And you're young, she said, but there was no condescension in it. Just sadness. I'm observant. I leaned forward. And I'm telling you, you're not invisible, not even close. May our food arrived, but neither of us moved to eat. The moment felt suspended, fragile. This is dangerous, Catherine said quietly. What is? This you making me feel seen, me wanting to believe you. She met my eyes. You're my employee, Dylan. I'm 18 years older than you. This can't. I know. And I did, but knowing didn't stop my heart from racing. 1 hour, remember? Then we forget this happened. Manja. She nodded, but we both knew it was a lie. Menda, we ate slowly, the conversation drifting to safer topics. Her daughter in college, my sister's upcoming wedding, our shared obsession with true crime podcasts. But underneath every word was a current, pulling us somewhere neither of us had intended to go. Belenz, can I ask you something? I said as we walked back to the office. The October air was crisp and she'd wrapped her blazer tighter around herself. Depends on the question. Demands, why did you really marry him, your ex? She stopped walking. We were standing under a streetlight, and I could see her breath forming clouds in the cool air. Banja. Because he was safe, she finally said. I was 23, fresh out of grad school, terrified of failing. He was 10 years older, established, confident. He felt like security. She looked at me. I chose safety over passion, and I spent 20 years paying for that choice. Is that why you're scared now? Because I'm not safe? Lan, the question hung between us. You terrify me, she whispered. Because when you look at me, I don't feel 46. I don't feel like someone's ex-wife or someone's boss or someone who's supposed to have everything figured out. I feel like I'm still allowed to want things, to feel things. I stepped closer. Not touching, but close enough to feel her warmth. What do you want, Catherine? And she shivered, and I couldn't tell if it was from the cold or something else. Ben, to not be alone tonight, she breathed. But I can't ask you that. I won't. My heart was hammering. What if I'm offering, Dylan, just company, said quickly. Coffee at your place. Conversation. Nothing that crosses lines we can't uncross. Just, let me make sure you're okay, please. Then she searched my face, and I let her see everything, the concern, the attraction I'd been suppressing for months, the desperate want to be someone who mattered to her. 1 cup of coffee, she finally said. Then you go home, 1 cup. I agreed. We both knew that was a lie too. Her apartment surprised me. I'd expected something sleek and minimalist, all corporate efficiency. Instead, it was warm, exposed brick walls covered in art, bookshelves crammed with novels and travel guides, a balcony overlooking the city with plants that somehow thrived despite the approaching winter. Man, it's not much, she said, shrugging off her blazer. Underneath was a silk blouse that caught the lamplight. The divorce settlement gave me enough to start over. I wanted something that felt like mine. It's perfect. She smiled, a real one this time, and moved toward the kitchen. Coffee, as promised. Though I also have wine if you… coffee's good. I needed to stay clear-headed. Bamdia, I wandered to her bookshelf while she worked. Poetry collections next to business strategy books. A worn copy of Jane Eyre beside a pristine Art of War. "Mon, you're a romantic," I said, pulling out the Bronte novel. "Used to be." She appeared with 2 mugs, handing me one. "Now I'm just someone who likes stories with impossible love and inevitable heartbreak?" "Why inevitable?" Pliant, she sat on the couch, tucking her legs under her. I stayed standing, needing the distance. "Bane, because real life isn't a novel, Dylan. Age gaps that seem intriguing at first become problems later. The younger person grows restless. The older person becomes insecure. Society judges. Families object. Eventually, passion isn't enough to overcome reality. That's bleak. That's experience." She sipped her coffee. "My ex-husband was older. I thought his age meant wisdom, stability. Turned out it just meant he was set in his ways. Unwilling to grow with me, I'm not him." "I know." Her voice was soft. "You're thoughtful and present, and you listen like every word matters. You make me feel." She stopped herself. "This isn't fair to you. What isn't?" "You know me, unburdening myself. Using you as emotional support on the worst day of my year." "You should be out with people your own age, dating women who don't come with this much baggage." Bane, I set down my mug and finally sat, not next to her, but close enough. "Can I tell you what I see when I look at you?" "Yo?" She tensed. "Dylan, I see someone who survived something that would have broken most people. Someone who shows up every day and leads with grace even when she's falling apart inside. I see someone who's learned to value herself enough to walk away from comfortable misery." I held her gaze. "I see someone I've been half in love with for months, and I'm terrified to tell you because I know you'll find 100 reasons why it's impossible." Her eyes widened. We can't. I know. And God, it hurt. The age difference, the work dynamic, the timing, the 100 practical reasons why this is a terrible idea. "I know all of it, Catherine. But knowing doesn't change what I feel." She was crying again, silently this time. "I'm not who you think I am. I'm broken and scared, and I don't know how to do this anymore. How to let someone in. How to trust that it won't end in me being invisible again." I moved to the couch beside her, giving her space to pull away if she wanted. She didn't. "Then don't think about forever," I said quietly. "Don't think about what could go wrong or how society will judge or whether I'll get bored in 5 years. Just think about right now, this moment. What do you want right now?" She looked at me with eyes full of fear and hope and something that made my breath catch. "And I want to feel beautiful again," she whispered. "I want someone to look at me like I'm not a consolation prize or a midlife crisis. Like I'm chosen, desired, real." I reached out slowly, giving her every chance to stop me, and cupped her face in my hand. Her skin was soft, and she leaned into the touch like she was starving for it. "Be Catherine Wells," I said, voice rough with emotion. "You are the most captivating woman I've ever met. You're brilliant and strong and so beautiful, it physically hurts to look at you sometimes. And if some fucking idiot couldn't see that, couldn't cherish that, then he never deserved you in the first place." A tear slipped down her cheek. I brushed it away with my thumb. "You're not a midlife crisis," I continued. "You're not a consolation prize. You're the person I think about when I should be working. The voice I replay in my head before I fall asleep. The reason I started coming in early, just for the chance to see you arrive." "Yo, Dylan," she breathed, and my name on her lips was the most intimate thing I'd ever heard. "Tell me to leave," I whispered. "Tell me this is wrong and I'll go. I'll transfer departments. We'll forget this happened. Just say the word." She was trembling, her breath coming faster. "What if I don't want you to leave? Then don't let me." The space between us evaporated. She leaned forward, and I met her halfway, and when our lips finally touched, it felt like something fundamental clicking into place. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, testing. Then she made a small sound in her throat, and everything intensified. Her hands were in my hair, pulling me closer. I wrapped my arm around her waist, feeling the curve of her body against mine. And it was nothing like the fumbling encounters I'd had with women my age. This was something else entirely, urgent but controlled, passionate but present. When we finally broke apart, both breathless, she rested her forehead against mine. "This is insane," she whispered. "Completely." "Bent, we work together. People will talk. HR will have a field day. I know. I'm old enough to have babysat you. You're not, actually. Math doesn't work." She laughed despite herself. "And I don't care what people say. I care about you." She pulled back to look at me, eyes searching. "What are we doing, Dylan?" "And something terrifying," I admitted, "and maybe something incredible. If you're brave enough," she was brave enough. "Mons, we stayed up until 3 in the morning, talking about everything and nothing. She told me about her daughter's fear of her dating someone younger. I told her about my mom's likely enthusiastic approval. She'd always said I was an old soul. We discussed the logistics, the need for discretion at work, at least until I could transfer to a different department. The importance of taking things slowly, of not rushing into something neither of us was ready for. But we also talked about hope, about second chances and unexpected timing and the courage it takes to choose connection over fear. "Bombia, I need you to understand something," Catherine said as dawn started breaking through her windows. We were on her couch, her head on my shoulder, my fingers tracing lazy patterns on her arm. "I'm not a project. I'm not someone you can fix or save. I know I have trauma, insecurities, days where I'll push you away because it feels safer than letting you close. I'm not going anywhere." She lifted her head to look at me. "How can you be so sure?" "Jane, because for the first time in my life, I don't feel invisible," I said honestly. "When I'm with you, I feel seen, really seen, not just as potential or promise or what I might become, as exactly who I am right now." I tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "That's not something I'm willing to give up easily." And she kissed me again, slow and deep, and I tasted coffee and promise. "I can't give you easy," she warned. "This will be complicated. I don't want easy. I want real. What if it doesn't work? What if," I pressed a finger to her lips, "Catherine, what if it does?" And she smiled, then fully, genuinely, and it transformed her face. This was what she looked like: happy, hopeful, free. "I have a confession," she said. "Oh, yeah, I've noticed you months. The way you bite your pen when you're concentrating. How you always make coffee for everyone else before yourself. The fact that you actually read the reports instead of just skimming." She looked almost shy. I told myself it was inappropriate, that the age gap made it impossible, that I was just lonely and projecting. And now I'm wondering why I wasted so much time being practical, and we watched the sunrise together, and it felt like a beginning, not a fairy tale. We both knew better than that, but something real, something worth fighting for. "I should go," I finally said. "Let you get some sleep." "Or," she said, tightening her hold on me, "you could stay, make me breakfast. Help me figure out how to be brave enough for this." I smiled against her hair. "I can do that." Monday morning, Catherine Wells walked into the office with her head high and purpose in her step. She scheduled a meeting with HR, disclosed our relationship, and formally requested my transfer to a different reporting line. It would take 6 weeks to process. Those were the longest and most exhilarating 6 weeks of my life. We were careful, professional at work, though I caught her watching me in meetings with a small smile. She'd send me cryptic emails. "The Johnson file needs review," meant "I miss you." I'd respond with equally coded messages about quarterly projections and deadline extensions. But after hours, we lived. Dinner at hole-in-the-wall restaurants where no one knew us. Long walks through the city, talking until our voices went hoarse. Quiet nights at her apartment, cooking together, learning each other's rhythms and habits and histories. Her Her daughter met me on a cold November evening, suspicious and protective. By the end of the night, she pulled her mom aside, and I heard her whisper, "He looks at you like you hung the moon, Mom. Don't let fear ruin this." My mother met Catherine and immediately started planning our wedding. We had to remind her, repeatedly, that we'd been together for less than 2 months. People talked. Of course they did. The young analyst and his older boss, acting out some Oedipal fantasy or midlife crisis, depending on who was gossiping. We learned to ignore it, to focus on what mattered, the way she challenged me to be better, sharper, more honest. The way I reminded her that she was allowed to be vulnerable, to want things, to take up space. It wasn't always easy. She had days where the age gap loomed large, where she worried about me waking up at 35 and regretting my 20s spent with someone older. I had moments of insecurity, wondering if I could ever be enough for someone so accomplished, so put together. But we talked through it. We chose each other, again and again, even when it would have been easier to walk away. Dambada, 6 months in, she told me she loved me. We were in her kitchen, attempting to make homemade pasta and failing spectacularly, flour everywhere, laughing like idiots. "I love you," she said, suddenly serious. "I tried not to. I gave myself 1,000 reasons why I shouldn't, but I do. I love you, Dylan." I kissed her, tasting tomato sauce and joy. "I've loved you since that night in your office, when you let me see you broken and still trusted me enough to let me stay." "Amy and Damien, that was just kindness," she protested. "That was you," I corrected. "Letting yourself be seen. Letting yourself want something." That's when I knew we're still writing our story. There's no neat ending, no guarantee that passion will overcome every practical obstacle. Her daughter graduates in May, and we're both terrified and excited about what that means. My career is taking off. I made senior analyst and transferred to strategic planning, no longer under Catherine's direct supervision. Dained, we talk about the future sometimes. Marriage, maybe, kids. She's ambivalent. I'm open. Or maybe just building a life together that makes us both feel seen, chosen, real. But mostly we focus on now, on choosing each other today and tomorrow and the day after that, on being brave enough to believe that sometimes the most illogical thing is exactly the right thing, because she's not too old, I'm not too young. We're just two people who found each other at exactly the wrong time and decided to make it exactly right. Blanched, and every night when she falls asleep with her head on my chest and her hand over my heart, I think about that first evening, when I asked why she was alone and offered her company. "Then don't let me be," she'd whispered. "I haven't. And I don't plan to."